That is my fake library. we have a very small house out here in the woods. So
Where woods?
Nicosia, Lucas Valley. So
All right. I like how they've got the custom graphics. That's cool.
Welcome everyone to Quantum Leap here on April 13th, and sorry to interrupt the discussion about Cory's library. It's an impressive library of books there that he has. How are you, Cory?
Good, how are you?
Oh, good. And we're excited to have Hugh Groman on, a caterer and somebody who Cory actually recommended to me is a top caterer in the area, and we're excited to have him on when we have a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel here with the business that he does. I know COVID's been very hard on certain business lines. I think catering definitely fits that bill, unfortunately, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that and how Hugh's looking forward to coming out of this. But I just wanted to do a quick check-in with Cory to see how you are. Cory, if you could introduce yourself and tell us if you have any check-in for this week on business stuff.
Yeah, hey everyone, Cory and I here, business coach with Take Wing Coaching. And the big thing I'm working on this week is I got a mindset class coming up on 4/20. So probably turn into a workshop over some other workshops over time. But this one's interesting because we cover an area of mindset on thought patterns, which is, I think, complementary to most other work that people do on mindset. So it's going to be fascinating and helpful, I think, especially for people who procrastinate or find that they just go after every shiny object.
Great. And one thing you might just check is your onboard audio. I know sometimes it switches from the mic to, we don't have quite a strong audio signal from you today. And yeah, you have actually inspired me. I was just talking about on the last segment, you're going down to San Diego here in a few weeks. So you inspired me to look at scheduling some of those summer trips. And I think it's so important as business owners to have some downtime and some trips to look forward to kind of recharge and kind of look ahead. And, I'm looking forward to our event on May 18th, but I'm also working on kind of a spin-off event that we've talked about for Image Maker to kind of, continue that conversation. I know your event coming up here on April 20th really touches on a lot of those same themes with mindset. So we look forward to telling folks more about those and presenting on some of these issues as we move forward. But with that, we're going to get to Hugh, and sorry to leave you hanging there, Hugh, so to speak, but how are you today? And welcome to Quantum Leap.
Thank you. I'm very well. I think I'm well today.
Good. Yeah. I had a great time visiting you on your home turf there in Piedmont, so to speak, virtually with your chapter and BNI, a great group of colleagues that you have there, and a very impressive chapter. And I know, Cory, if you don't mind just telling us how Hugh and some of the experience that you've had with his business and him as a business leader here in the East Bay area.
Well, unfortunately, you had to attend the Zoom version of his BNI meeting, because if you were able to go in person, you would have experienced some of his fantastic catering. It's actually one of the reasons I even showed up at his meeting over the years. No, I love the people, but the food is always a big draw. But Hugh and I kind of go way back. I guess we were pretty close to being neighbors. Did you live on Glorietta? Is that right? Is that what I have in my head?
Revere Road, so off of Glorietta or near
Right.
there, that neighborhood. Yeah. And
So
before that, Upper Happy Valley Road.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you were over in that area too. So yeah, and so I was kind of sandwiched between his sister and him in terms of age, and we kind of all knew each other. And then I ran into him many years ago at a BNI meeting, the first one that was being formed in the Oakland Berkeley area. So he's
were you at that meeting?
Well, I think you had already, I don't know, you were in the hotel, and Don Lyon said, hey, check out this meeting, see if it's a good one for you. So I went, and
yeah. Okay, you went to our group, but you weren't at the,
not at the
launch event. Okay.
No. No, but and then later on, we've run across each other many times in Oakland, and he was really a superstar caterer and has it has when you're on KTVU, you do various events on there. You have Hugh Groman catering, plus you have Phil Sliders. There's lots of things that are going on, and it's just a lot of fun to follow.
Oh, thanks, Cory. I love that we've stayed connected. It's really fun.
Well,
Yeah, and I've been following on social media as well, and I love the visual aspect of food and how he makes food fun and engaging, and it's just really exciting to kind of see what he's done with that business, and we look forward to seeing what he does, kicking it back into higher gear after these tough times with COVID. But if you don't mind, Hugh, just telling us a little bit about your story and your business, kind of how you got into doing what you do so well.
Okay. Well, I'll see if I can do the quick version. Um, Ever since I was a kid, I was a hard worker, and I worked in the food business. I started when I was 15, and I have literally only worked in the food business my whole life, except for a short stint as a personal assistant to a therapist. But she was not sane. So, but aside from that, I've always worked in restaurants, and I've just always been drawn to it. And I was, trying to decide what to do after I went to college, and I was trying to avoid being in the food business because I knew that it was so hard, but I couldn't find myself, well, couldn't find my way towards anything other than food. So I ended up cooking professionally in New York, and then I owned a cafe in New York, and I started a catering business in New York. And a sort of a relationship that ended allowed me to let go of all of that in New York because I just wanted to be home in California. So I came back to California and started over again. And I really realized catering, and that was when I was 30. So that's 20 years ago. And that is when I realized that catering was really what I was best at. And so I've built up a catering company here in California for the last 20 years. And I've added divisions. I had another restaurant here for 6 years called Phil Sliders that has now just kind of been consumed into the catering business. After 6 years, I let that go. And now we're rebuilding.
do you still have the food truck for Phil Sliders?
We can still do a mobile unit. Yeah, it's not exactly a truck, but it's a mobile unit. Yeah, so it's like another version of catering. I just don't want to do a restaurant ever again because I'm not as good at it. And I think you're either good at restaurants or you're good at catering, and it's actually a very different skill set, different personality to style. And if anyone's good at both, they're amazing, because I couldn't do it.
Thanks. And could you tell us a bit about how COVID-19's impacted your business? And I know I've just seen this in so many ways, and I know we've talked a little bit about this, but maybe if you do see a light at the end of the tunnel here.
Oh, for sure. March 8th, I flew to Las Vegas to go to the Cater Source Catering Convention. And so I was there with like 1,000 other caterers, and the news kept evolving. March 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And we were looking at each other like, oh my God. And while we were all attending the conference, we were all getting the calls from back home. Everyone's canceling all their events. What should we do? What do we do with their deposits? So I said, basically, hold everyone's deposit for a future event, and let's start taking all the food we had. I mean, I had a big business. We were doing, I don't know, 700 events a year. And basically it was clear like my business was going to be against the law. And so we we had so much food. So we just started making frozen soups and frozen stews. And I converted one of our websites to an online store, and we started delivering right away. It was a quick transition because I don't know, it just seemed clear like, okay, well, we're going to have to figure out a way to keep going. And we have done that for the last year, and we have done gift baskets, deliveries, a lot of stuff for people in their homes, food, meals, groceries, small events when we were able to. And I just realized that I needed to let go of bottom line thinking for the time being and just keep my team intact. And I had to trust that it was going to work out with government assistance, and it did. I mean, I've gotten, a lot of money from the government, and I feel lucky that I was able to keep my team together, because um, the team that we've built over the last 20 years is far more valuable than, any sort of amount of temporary money. And having to rebuild that was is beyond imagining, honestly. So I was like, let's just see how we can keep everyone employed, and I'll find the money somehow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
good.
I was gonna say that's good business thinking. So are you starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel with that?
Yeah, a ton. About my sister Nina, who she's worked with me for, I guess, 15 years or so, and she writes 95% of our proposals. So she took off for about 6 months because she was, willing and able to take off that time, and that made it a little easier. But then she started working again a couple months ago, and she's working more and more hours every day writing proposals. We are writing tons of proposals. And then we're doing tastings, and we have booked events for May and June and July and August. And we're booking events almost every day now. So it's exciting. I mean, of course it's scary. I'm a pretty optimistic thinker, but when you have a little bit of bad news, like the Johnson and Johnson news, it's like, oh God. But people are resourceful. Other people whose jobs it is to fix that are working on it, and I'm hoping they will, and hopefully there'll be good news tomorrow, or in a week, or in a month.
Well, I just got the J&J shot. I'm still alive. So
Oh God.
me and 6 million others.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of hope right now, and my team. I was just at my catering kitchen, and there was people were there working away, and everyone seemed to be in such good spirits, and that really means a lot to me. I just want them all to be happy, and I want to be happy too.
Nice.
That's certainly something I've learned over the last year. Is I've had years where I made a lot of money. I've had years where I made very little money. But now I kind of have seen what that looks like, what it looks like to not make a lot of money. I kind of know what it takes to make a lot of money. And now I realize, like, I just want to be happy, and I want to grow my business, but I don't have as much to prove.
Yeah. So speaking of growing the business, what makes your business unique? Like, what makes it stand out from other catering companies in the Bay Area?
I've done a lot of thinking about this. Having a chef-owned company makes a difference.
Mhm.
I'm not currently in charge in the catering kitchen. That's been David for many, many, many years. But he and I are really on the same page. He's a great chef. He's got great taste. But having a company that's driven by chefs is important, because if the owner isn't a chef, they're not going to make the right decisions about food and it's food. The quality of the product is so important. So we're a chef-owned company. I think that we have great taste, but we're really we pair that with a wish to keep things as easy and simple as possible. So I'm not trying to waste your money, but I will spend your money happily on quality food and elegant decor and flowers. And, I'll make you a beautiful party, and we can spend a small amount of money or a lot of money, but I'm going to make good decisions so that the party is beautiful and fun, and that people are going to be comfortable. But it's not about waste. I'm really against waste. I don't love events where people build huge sets and then throw them in a dumpster. It feels wasteful. So I'd rather keep we are a green certified business. That's another piece of the answer, is that's another thing that makes us different. We've been green certified for, I think, 10 or 15 years with the County of Alameda. So they go through a whole process of analyzing what you do, your processes, and how you can be more energy efficient. So everything from the lighting and the water flow at our catering kitchen to composting at events and at the catering kitchen, recycling, what we choose to use, how we wrap things. All of these things are really important. Even the deep fry oil gets taken away and used in biodiesel fuels. So there's a lot of opportunities to be green.
And so when you said the chef driven company, so are most companies then just cook driven, or how would you say, what would be the difference?
No, well, sometimes, some companies, like the owner of the company isn't a chef.
Right.
They just they come at it from different angles. So not cook driven, because that a cook and a chef, it's a cook and a chef are the same thing. It's just the chef is the person who has to be in charge of everybody else.
I think there's definitely a certain amount of training too. I mean, I've been a cook, but not a chef.
Right.
Yeah.
Chef, I think the line between cook and chef is the chef is in charge and they manage everybody else. It's yeah, not every company, you know, so I do have other companies. I'm like, I don't know if I would do it that way, you know, but they're just not, there's a lot to factor in with food, with catering, with when you know, what you choose to buy, how you combine it with other things, when you do things, what you finish at the party versus what you do in advance. All of these things are factors that are going to impact the quality.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Okay. And so who would you say for, you know, who's your ideal client? You're like, yeah.
Well, right now we have a wide range of clients, you know, people in their homes,
Sure.
Personal clients, you know, we're doing less business stuff, although we've done tons of gift baskets and things like that for businesses, or, you know, employee happy hours where we deliver to every single employee. You know, we do 150 deliveries all in a few hours. We just send a ton of delivery people out all at once. But my ideal client is someone who wants it to be wonderful and who wants us to make it easy for them. Some people want to struggle and suffer, and I'm not into the struggling and the suffering. Just let us make it easy for you.
Yeah, I think some people like that, right? The whole martyr thing. But so are you starting to see any weddings come online, things like that for the summer?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's we're doing tastings. We did a couple tastings for weddings. We're doing 2 more on Saturday. We've booked at least 3 or 4 weddings just for the next few months. That is kind of where most of the business is right now. And historically, we haven't done tons of weddings, but I'm not saying no to too much right now.
Yeah, keep that team. Do you have any questions, David?
Say again?
I was asking David if he had any questions.
I'm just kind of analyzing some of the things that he said, and I appreciate his, you know, such openness, and it's so interesting to hear about, you know, some of the nuances of his business, you know, that chef driven. I think that's something that he knows why that's so important to his business, but as an outsider, you might not notice that. But I think something that I see from a lot of people who are in B&I compared to not in B&I is a standard of excellence. And I think what that sounds like, what that does, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that you kind of put the excellence of the food first. And that's something that a lot of other catering companies are maybe more business driven, you know, the product's not quite to the high bar that you set, where you have a chef actually making the kind of front office decision, so to speak.
Right. I mean, you've probably been to a lot of events, and, you know, often the food's pretty good or it's okay, you know, but I want people to say wow when they put it in their mouth. And luckily the bar is pretty low because people don't expect the food at catered events to be particularly good. So it's not actually that hard to surprise people, because, you know, but I also focus on simplicity. That's another thing I should have mentioned before when you asked what makes us different. I think, you know, high quality things kept fairly simple is going to have more impact than a caterer who's trying to impress people. Oh, what if we just add an extra bit of sauce, or then we do one more ingredient and then we top it with something else? You know, theoretically, I guess that sounds good. You're trying to impress people, but the way I want to impress people is by having them just have an experience of wow, and then to feel really well taken care of with food and drink and comfort and lighting and all of these things that make people put people at ease. And that's the way I want to impress people. I don't want to impress people by having them say, wow, they sure seemed like they spent a lot of money, or, you know, whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think there was something else you said about, you know, the importance of keeping your staff, which is something I don't think you see in all catering companies. You know, they seem to roll through staff pretty quickly. See that once in a while, or you go to an event and it's just like, I don't even know who I'm working for. I'm just here to, you know,
Yes.
to deliver the food. And
yes. That's another piece, is just staff is the ultimate. It's so important. And we get more comments on our staff than anything else, because if, you know, I'm always looking for people who have hospitality in their hearts. And if you don't have hospitality in your heart, I have no interest in working with you. People who the phrase I think came from Danny Meyer, who's a famous restaurateur in New York. He's looking for people where it feeds them to feed other people.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm looking for too. And people think they can fool me, like the staff, they're like, oh, I care. Like, and I'm like, no, I know when someone doesn't care. It's obvious to me.
Right.
Yeah, good to hear. And I like your interviewing style. Briefer answers, and I feel like it's more impactful in the interview, and that's why we still have a bit of time. So I wanted to ask one other question about what you kind of see, or the keys to your success, and kind of in the catering business. I know you mentioned over time you've been at this for a while, and your team and the chef driven thing, but part of your kitchen. But are there certain things that maybe advice that you have for other business owners, or things that have, or that are kind of nuanced, that you see as really key to your success?
I mean, tons of things. Don't give up. Number one. We are here to be guided. We are here to learn. I think people want to know all the answers. I certainly always have wanted, growing up, I wanted to know the answers, but we're here to be connected to each other and to learn from each other. And so being open to where that's going to come from. I've learned a lot from being in BNI. I've had a business coach for 10 years. I've been in I've been in so much therapy. I've got every kind of therapist, I've got the couples therapist. I've had individual therapists. I've, been in a spiritual group. So, being open to what there is to learn from every experience, for me, being in business is a spiritual journey. You're here to learn, and if I'm not becoming a better person and learning more humility and listening, then I'm not going to be a good leader, So, and then Danny Meyer said this to me many, many, many years ago. He said, "You're not going to succeed for any other reason other than because you care about how other people feel, or how you make other people feel. People will forget everything, but they'll never forget how you made them feel." And looking back from the ripe middle age of 50, it's true. They'll never, the hurtful things I've said, they never forget. And then the ways I've made people feel good, they don't forget it. So I'd say that's a big one.
That's great to hear. And I love what you said about that you get a lot of compliments on your staff, and they're not kind of just going through the motions. That if you hire people who just want a job, that, that kind of standard of excellence of actually caring, that is so memorable for an event. And especially if you have the kind of the opposite, so to speak, staff that doesn't care, and some of the, that can have a hugely negative impact on an event too. So I know Cory and I love to analyze some of these things. I just love all these kind of success principles that we see in you and your thinking, and why you built the business that you have. And I don't know if Cory has any closing comments. We're just about at time here, but
Nothing else to add. It's just good to see you, Hugh.
It's great to see you. It's great to see you both, and I appreciate that chance to talk about all this stuff. It's fun to take a moment and kind of reflect and look back, like, okay, where are we at today?
Yeah, I hear you. And I just can't help but thinking that you're so well positioned for coming out of this too, with what you've built with this company and as a person, and kind of the spiritual journey, that you'll really even stand out even more. In that I kind of doubt a lot of these other companies have probably kept the teams together and some of the pieces. So, a lot of businesses have just completely disappeared. So, sorry, I have a little bit of background noise, but we'll leave it there for today. And pardon the additional commentary from me. It can be a little long-winded at times.
I tell you, I don't have, no, you're talking about your kid. I can't imagine juggling work and a kid. I mean, I guess that's my final secret to success, is I don't have any kids. So probably makes it a lot easier to get everything all together.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on, Hugh, and thanks, Cory, for the great recommendation introducing me to Hugh. And we look to having you back here in maybe 6 months or something once we get further along and doing a check-in at that point. On
That would be fun.
Right.
I'd love that.
Great. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the first segment here of Quantum Leap with Hugh Groman and Hugh Groman Catering. We'll put all the links to how to get in touch with Hugh to book your event. And we'll talk soon, Hugh. Thank you.
Thank you.